Well, good morning there, Facebook friends. Very interesting. The moment I started to talk about the possibility of a UFO experience, which was just one of many that I was going to share, my computer froze. So who knows what that means? I'm Love Coach Scott Katamas, and I really want us to talk this morning about the various ways to manage crisis in our lives. And clearly, the world is undergoing an extraordinary crisis right now. And there's so many different ways to handle it. There's so many different belief systems that are flying through the internet. And they are all just that. They're belief systems ranging from, some very good evidence that the coronavirus is directly connected to 5G. I watched a YouTube today that made a really good case for that. It's several times I've heard that. I also experienced within myself this wondering of, all right, is this my time? What happens if I get coronavirus? Certainly reading about New York and the situation in New York, which is so incredibly painful to read about, and what's going on there. And the estimates are that half the city's population is infected, and they're completely out of beds, they're completely out of supplies. And so what are we going to do? Is that just in certain places like Italy, London, New York? Or is that ultimately what's going to happen all around the world? In which case, there's going to be a phenomenal loss of life. The U.S. death toll doubled yesterday in one day. The number of people that have died doubled in one day. So I don't think too many people are in denial that this is an ongoing challenge and the worst is yet to come. So how to manage that? Because I work as a coach and I work a lot with people that are in crisis, including people that are dealing with death and dying. I've walked many of my friends through death. I watched my wife, who died in the bed behind me, my mother, my father, many friends. And I found that people who have faith or practice, it's much easier for us to cope with a significant challenge or crisis. And again, I'm not promoting any specific faith. I'm not promoting any specific practice. But I do want to encourage everyone. Now is a really good time to work on what probably is the most important relationship of all. Our relationship to what Rumi called the eternal beloved, that which has 1,000 names. You could call it your higher self, God. And for people that are atheistic or agnostic, I honor you as well. So it's just your relationship to life itself. Do you believe that we're spiritual beings having a human experience? That's a pretty common belief for many of our friends. What if we're in our final days? What if this is some form of an apocalypse? And an apocalypse only has to be for the people that are going to die. It doesn't necessarily, it's for everybody. But it's been apocalyptic for the thousands of people who have died from this. And so it's an extraordinary time. And there's a lot of things that we can believe. And again, I'm not here to promote any specific belief. Maybe the UFO is going to land or make itself known. Maybe this is an enormous warning about the dangers of 5G. Maybe it's Mother Earth really sending a wake-up call to the human species. Maybe it's just karma of the human species that we need to slow the fuck down. And maybe it's all those things. For many years, I produced television. And for 7 years, I was producing television of a spiritual, metaphysical, and mystical nature. And it was a really fun time in my life because I was well paid working in Los Angeles as a segment producer on nationally broadcast television shows. And my specialty was everything UFO, mystical, spiritual. So I got paid very well to meet really the most amazing people in those fields. Marianne Williamson, Deepak Chopra, Tony Robbins. I interviewed 8 former astronauts, 30 former military officials, all about their UFO experiences. And for a while there, I was pretty tapped in. I was kind of at the center of that world because I was the guy that you had to go through to get on television. And I had networks behind me and camera crews and money and a budget. So it was a cool time. And I traveled to whole life expos and UFO expos where I would show kind of the best of my video clips and also see if there are any interesting stories to pick up. And of course, people would say, well, what do you believe? What is this? What's the truth? And really, after being very involved, interviewing a lot of people, producing over 100 national broadcast segments, I really came to the conclusion, this is a dream world. All of it's real from one perspective, and none of it is real from another perspective. It's a dream within a dream, within a dream, within a dream. Christopher Nolan, the brilliant filmmaker, alludes to this in more than one of his movies. But of course, Inception being the one that's most about a dream within a dream within a dream. And so there is the collective dream that there's this thing called the coronavirus that's sweeping the world and impacting us. But then we each have our own individual dream of how we're going to relate to it. Now, to what degree we have control over our dream, well, that's a good question, which I'm certainly not capable of answering. But what I do believe is we can choose where we put our attention. We can go down the rabbit hole of spending 12 hours a day reading all the different things that are going on. We can spend a little bit of time going to sources we trust. We can spend more time focusing on our family, on our writing that book we always wanted to write, being productive in whatever ways we want to be productive, or going deep inside. And it's your choice. I mean, it's a big worldwide timeout going on right now. So we get to choose how we're going to put our attention, where we're going to go with it. And for myself, I'm trying to balance it out. In the last week, I've posted memes that were funny. I've posted articles that were serious. I really enjoyed hosting an online concert that included some really funny comedy with Swami Beyondananda and musical guest Fantuzzi. There was also a fundraiser for Fantuzzi. We did that last night. Happy to say we raised over $10,000. I'm trying to find balance doing these events every day with Love Coach Academy, sometimes by myself, sometimes with my partners. But what I want to encourage all of you is to really be conscientious of where you're putting your attention. And what are you choosing to believe? There's a wonderful quote by Einstein, I'm paraphrasing, that the true measure of intelligence is how quickly we can change our belief systems. Another way of looking at it is, what are you collecting evidence to support your belief for? A fanatic becomes dangerous because they only collect evidence to support something that they rigidly believe. And they might even go to great lengths to destroy or hurt anybody who challenges that belief. So we want to be as open-minded and as open-hearted as we can. As a coach, and I'm still every day working with people, usually people that are having relationship challenges. When people are stuck in their belief, this is who you are, you're an alcoholic, you're a bitch, you're an asshole, you're a jerk, all these horrible labels, the relationship becomes highly toxic and oftentimes completely dysfunctional. When people are still curious, wow, why do you think that way? Why do you believe something that's so different than what I believe? That curiosity is what keeps a relationship happy and healthy and alive. So let's be curious right now. Let's be curious. Let's not make a religion out of any particular belief, even around this coronavirus. But let's just keep as wide open as possible. I'm choosing social distancing. I think it's obviously a very wise choice. But I'm still open-minded to what degree it's all about contagious, to what degree is it all about my mindset, to what degree, if we get sick or not, is it all chance? These are all questions I don't know the answers to for sure. I could adopt a belief system. It certainly does seem likely to me that it is an opportunity for a non-religious, non-denominational, global spiritual awakening. That's what I hope this is. That's what it seems most likely to be. Humankind really needs to raise our consciousness. I did the very last interview with Timothy Leary before he died, the last public national broadcast interview. He had brain cancer, but he was still very coherent and brilliant. And that was a lot of what he talked about, was that the human species needs to radically raise our consciousness because we now have the technology to destroy the world many times over, whether it's through nuclear weapons or through viruses or through biological weapons. We need to raise our consciousness. We need to, ideally, even go into that experience of oneness or singularity. But as long as we stay isolated, polarized, us against them, well, we've spent thousands of years seeing how that works out. It doesn't work out very well, does it? It may work out well for a few for a while, but humanity really needs a spiritual awakening, not any one particular religious form. So whatever your practice is, and that could be playing a musical instrument or a martial art form. It might be spending more time in nature, more time in prayer, yoga, meditation, chanting. Or if you do have a religion, fantastic. But whatever your practice is, spend more time doing that. And for my friends watching who may not have a practice or may have been so disillusioned with the religion or spiritual beliefs you were raised with that you threw it all out, I understand that. I appreciate your discernment. I appreciate the disillusionment. Maybe you really saw hypocrisy in the church or the faith that you were raised with. But I encourage you to still connect to something, even if it's just life itself or nature. I love to, if I'm feeling really alone, I really love to remember that I'm being held at all times by my true mother, Mother Earth, Gaia, this planet. It's called gravity. We're always being held at all times by our true mother. And just really dropping in, tuning into that incredible experience, the beauty of that. I'd love to know what some of you think. And I see that Tamara writes, yes, no matter what I choose, one thing always remains the same, my faith. Nobody can crush it. And that's a beautiful example of what I was talking about. Susan writes about how there are still a lot of people in denial, and yes, there are. Areas where, let's face it, Al Gore wrote a book which became a movie called An Inconvenient Truth, which is a brilliant title for our relationship to climate change. It's very inconvenient. Well, the coronavirus is a very inconvenient thing that's happening, and it's impacting us all. And again, of course we don't want to believe it. We don't want to believe what's happening in Italy, in Spain, in London, and now in New York. We don't want to believe that. We don't want to believe that it's going to happen to me or to my family. Of course I don't want to believe that. That's where it's important to find the balance. Being open-minded, being aware of what is taking place from reputable sources. I posted on my wall a powerful story, an article, a blog from a doctor working in the emergency room in New York. Not a politician, not promoting a belief system, a doctor reporting what he's experiencing. It's very vivid and very alarming. And I didn't post it to promote fear. Oh gosh, I'm glad I'm thinking about that. I do not want to promote fear at all. And of course, the more that we go into fear, the more we lower our immune system. And this is a time where we need to boost our immune system. So there's that balance. I don't want to promote spiritual bypass of, hey, it's all a hoax. We're all okay. Go out and party. Or the spiritual bypass of, it's a great cleansing and we're all going to be fine and it's all going to work out perfectly. Well, that's beautiful. And let's still be smart about what people that we can trust are telling us. And there it comes. Who do we trust? I trusted this article by the doctor. I trusted it enough to post it. I don't trust certain political leaders. I trust, there's a friend of mine named Daniel Schmachtenberger. I trust Daniel and what he has to say because he's really smart and he's very open-minded and he's very connected. So I pick and choose who I trust. And then most of all, then we need to trust our own inner guidance. Now there's the rub, isn't it? Being able to differentiate between our higher self, our fear, and the different sub-personalities running on around inside of us. The sub-personality that wants to be in denial. The sub-personality that's the inner child that's scared shitless. The sub-personality that knows it all. I can solve this with my mind, with my belief systems. The sub-personality that goes spiritual and, oh my God, it's a beautiful cleansing. And you know what? All those voices, they're all part of us and they're all beautiful. Let's just manage all of the voices inside of us like we would manage our own children. We love all of our children and they all have their own strengths and weaknesses and challenges. So learning to listen to our different inner voices and trust which ones to pay attention to at which times. I work with people as a coach, helping them to sort that out. Ines writes, I believe many of us have been preparing for this without understanding the details, but working towards this inevitable change. I am calm, and I know I am being supported at all times. I am ready and open for this transformation. That's a beautiful, beautiful attitude, and I really respect that. And I think that's a lot of people I work with have that. It's like, wow, okay, we've been preparing for this all our lives. And again, kind of from a spiritual perspective, how to manage crisis, how to manage an existential crisis, how to manage a global crisis, and how to do it in a way that's filled with compassion. Gosh, I've been talking for a while, and that's the first time I've used the most important word, compassion. That's obviously what I teach. It's what I believe most of our great master teachers were directing us towards. And so on this sacred Sunday, let's have maximum compassion for ourselves, for each other. Let's not get lost in arguing over different belief systems. Let's, when we're feeling under-resourced, let's recognize that and be gentle on ourselves, or on the people we're living with. You know, there's people I know that are so lonely because they're all alone. And then there's other people I know that are equally upset because they're stuck in a house or an apartment with people they don't get along with. And they're two very unique challenges. So both of those challenges, as different as they are, require the same thing: compassion, acceptance, presence. This is what's happening. I'm all alone, physically. I need to get my connection needs met digitally. Or I'm stuck in a house or an apartment with people that drive me crazy, even if they're my kids, or my parents, or my roommates, or my lover, or my wife, or my husband. There's times they drive me crazy. Compassion, self-empathy. What am I feeling? What am I needing right now? What's this person who's driving me crazy feeling? What are they needing? We can become most compassionate by slowing down, maybe closing our eyes. Listen to our body. What's my body telling me? The body informs us. What am I feeling? Underneath those feelings, what am I needing? What am I longing for? What's this person that's driving me crazy longing for? What are they needing? This is compassion in action. So this is the Sacred Sunday message. Let's be really, really compassionate, filling our own well first. As my friend Laura Eldridge likes to remind us, when we are on an airplane and they're giving us the instructions in case something goes wrong, they always tell us, put your own oxygen mask on first before you start trying to save everybody else. Let's fill ourselves up with as much compassion, with as much love as possible. And that's again where we come back to our faith, a practice. Whether it's prayer, meditation, playing a musical instrument, listening to your favorite music, going for a walk, spending time in nature. For me, playing with my dogs is a big source of filling myself up, because I kind of go sometimes from session to session, working with a lot of people that are unhappy or scared or struggling. And boy, my dogs know nothing about coronavirus. They just don't. So I am instead playing with them and enjoying them. You know, it's like they're still playing. They're still doing their dog thing, their puppy thing. And I'm appreciating that. So whatever it takes to fill yourself up, and then from your own overflow, compassion for the people around you, or think of people you know that might be alone, older people that live alone, people that are scared, people that maybe don't have the faith or the practice that you have. Or if you're struggling, reach out. Reach out. Reach out to me. Reach out to Love Coach Academy. Come to one of our morning or evening sessions and get some empathy, some relationship skills. Vicky writes, I was the scared shitless child for a while, but now I'm centered and grounded, come what may. My hope and energy, sometimes it's hard to get it to read, I'm sorry I can't. My hope and energy and peace and inside of me. So there's an example, Vicky's giving the example of going through the vortex of fear and coming out to the other side. Ellie writes, I say we're safe in the house, not stuck in the house. Just one word can change the feeling. That's wonderful. We're safe in the house, not stuck in the house. That's great. That is really, really great. Thank you, Ellie. I love that. So there it is. What are the adjustments we can make? Vicky went through the vortex of fear. Ellie made an adjustment of one word. So what are the adjustments you can make today on this beautiful Sacred Sunday to change the way you're experiencing this crisis? Seeing it as a spiritual awakening, seeing it as an opportunity to focus more on your health, more on your family, more on those things that are most important. I allowed myself, twice now actually, to really actively imagine what it would be like if I get sick, if I get this thing. And I want to make it clear, I don't want to get sick and I don't want to die. I would love to live for a long time. There's a lot of things I still want to do on this planet. I have books to write, and I want to meet you and spend more time with you. Yeah, you. But I allowed myself to fully experience what it would be like if I got sick and what it would be like if I died. And I pretty well decided I'm not going to do the hospital thing. If I get sick, I'm going to stay home. I'm going to stay in my room. I'm going to stay with my dogs. The scene of the hospitals, if I get sick, is, by the time reading about the hospital scene, that's not where I want to be. If it's my time to go, you know what? I want to die in the same bedroom, in the same bed where my wife died. It's kind of a nice connection to that. And again, I'm not mocking it up for the purpose of attracting it. I allowed myself to imagine it for the purpose of experiencing it, not being afraid of it, and then releasing it to life, releasing it to God, releasing it to my higher self, whatever you want to call it. And I found it was valuable. Now, that's not to say that if I get sick, I'm not going to go through pain. And maybe if I just can't breathe, I might be like desperate and, oh my God, get me somewhere where I can get a ventilator and breathe. I mean, that could happen. But just going through the practice of imagining it was very helpful for me. And what Vicky wrote reminded me of that. Walking through our fear for the purpose of letting it go. So that can be a practice. Just imagining the worst, not to attract it, but to go, okay, if that's the worst that happens, that's okay. I can handle that. It's said, and I believe this, we're never given anything we can't truly handle, but sometimes we need to reach out for the right support to handle it. And that support includes spiritual support. And again, when I say spiritual, I don't mean any particular religion or dogma, but your own practice of faith. The things you can do to remind yourself that you are connected to others and connected to whatever you want to call it. God, the universe, life, nature, higher self, source, the eternal beloved, Father Sky, Mother Earth, whatever you want to call it. Cultivating that connection. Remembering when you felt deeply connected. Remembering when you felt deeply loved. There's an affirmation that I've given and that I use, and I've been using it and giving it out for 20 years, and it's simple. It's, I am love. I am loved. I am love. I am loved. I find that I am love helps me to remember the truth of who I am at the highest level. I am loved soothes my ego. It reminds me that, yeah, I've been loved in my life. My mom really loved me. My dad really loved me. My wife often loved me, sometimes didn't. She'd get mad at me. She'd get mad at me and she'd walk away. She was really cute. But she also really loved me at times. So remembering moments of love, like I just did actually, that was pretty spontaneous. I had this little moment of remembering Suchi loving me and also remembering when she'd get mad at me, which is kind of funny. So I am love helps me remember, oh yeah, I can be a really, really loving being. I am loved soothes my little boy, soothes my ego. And so if you are in that state where you're feeling scared or alone, try writing that affirmation. I am love. I am loved. I am love. I am loved. There's another affirmation that I use which helps me to connect to the divine, and that is, I am a clear channel for spirit to flow through. I am a clear channel for spirit to flow through. I am a clear channel for spirit to flow through. And that's really helped me as a coach, as a teacher. I recognize I'm a wise elder at times, playing that role. I also have other sides, believe me, but I enjoy playing the role of wise elder, love coach, Scott, teacher. And honestly, I really try to partner with higher self on that, because when I am connected to higher self, the magic happens. And there's times I don't know what to say to somebody who's in crisis. And, oh my gosh, something will flow through. I was working once with a woman in New York, very, not somebody who was New Age at all. She's a very kind of New York, highly intelligent woman. And we were working on her relationship stuff. And she mentioned that she had tremendous regret that she wasn't with her father when her father died. And I could see there was real pain. I said, have you ever really mourned that? And she was like, well, I just feel so guilty and it's so painful to even think about it. I said, well, let's just drop into mourning for a moment. M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G. And we closed our eyes and I ran the mantra, I'm a clear channel for spirit to flow through. And the most extraordinary thing happened. We're going to have a woo-woo moment here. The spirit of her father came into my body. I'd never met her father. I didn't even know his name. But he came into my body and said a couple things to her to establish that it was him, and comforted her. And she's like weeping. And there's like this part of me watching my own self as this extraordinary experience was happening. Now, I'm not putting myself out there as Scott the Channel, so don't start writing to me, hey, Scott, can you channel my deceased person? I have enough trouble just connecting to my own deceased mom, father, or wife. But in that moment, it happened. And I think it happened because I have used that mantra so many times. I am a clear channel for spirit to flow through. And so I've cultivated a connection to faith. Oh, wow. My oldest friend is watching. That's very cool. You know who you are, and I love you very much. So cultivating faith is a really, really important thing for us to do at this time, whatever that means to you. So running affirmations, and the power of affirmations is it gives our mind something to do. Oftentimes we can really become stuck running a painful thought, a painful memory. And when we do that, a way out of it, because we have to give the mind something to do. You can't just say, stop thinking about that. Run affirmations. I am love, I am loved. I'm a clear channel for spirit to flow through. I'm going to give you one more. This one sounds biblical, and I'm actually not a big fan of the Bible, to be honest, because I don't trust that what we're reading is what was originally written. There's been so many translations. So pardon the biblical language, but it's a really good affirmation. It's, my will and thy will are one. Always thy will be done. My will and thy will are one. Always thy will be done. And so that just helps me when my ego, to be really honest, I use that when my ego is kind of gotten a little carried away and I'm kind of off on a trip. It's like, okay, time to get back in alignment with my higher self, back in alignment with a higher intelligence than my limited ego. And I'm not one of those people that makes the ego wrong. I like to think of the ego as a faithful dog. And obviously, I love my dogs. They're right here with me. But you don't want the dog to run the show. Play with the dog, enjoy the dog, but don't let the dog run the show. So I want to just acknowledge that affirmation is helpful. Thank you, Susan, Debbie Garcia. Debbie, thank you so much for all the ways that you promote and support. Ellie and all the people sending messages. I will go back and read the messages. Looks like some really fun ones have come in today. I'm having to hold my phone, so I apologize for it being shaky. But hopefully you can hear me well, and the shaky is not a problem. Probably going to wrap up pretty soon. I've probably said just about everything that I need to say. Ronnie Ray, who's a wonderful guitar player and a good friend, says, As connecting with inner love, I'm sharing a mantra prayer. Thank you, Creator, for all this love. I love my life. That's beautiful. I'll read it again. Thank you, Creator, for all this love. I love my life. Thank you. By the way, on my phone, I'm only able to read like the first sentence of what people send. It says see more, but when I click it, nothing happens. So I apologize for that. I'm getting a frog in my throat, which is probably my body's way of telling me it's time to get some breakfast. I want to thank everybody for watching. Maybe go back, watch from the beginning. And I want to just acknowledge we're all in this together. We are being forced to connect digitally as we look at the most important issues of our life. And even if we're saying, okay, what if in the next few weeks I'm going to get sick? What if in the next few weeks I'm going to leave my body? Then what are the most important things to do? Who are the people you want to reach out to and make connection with? Maybe unresolved relationships, people that you loved at one time and you had a fight and you haven't talked to for a while. I've got one of those people, a few of those people in my life that I've been thinking about a lot that I want to reach out to. You know, my friend Roxy, who was watching before, maybe she's still watching, was talking about how much she loved 12-step programs. And I do really respect 12-step. It's a great process, whether you approach 12-step program through AA or Codependence Anonymous or any of the different ways of getting there. The 12 steps are an amazing way to really review your life and clean out a lot of the gunk. One of the videos I was watching today was all about what the coronavirus is from kind of a scientific standpoint, what a virus is. And it's all about cleaning out the gunk of the cells. So anyway, 12-step is really powerful. If any of you have done it, you might want to talk about your experience of it. If you haven't done it, check it out. Just go Google the 12 steps. And one of the steps, the fourth step, is making amends. And it's a killer, boy. It's a lot. Making amends is making a list of all the people that you may have harmed and all the people who may have harmed you and making amends with them. I'm 64 years old. I don't, honestly, I always get freaked out about it because I don't think I could do it. It's like there's so much history. Holy Moses, I've led a very complex life. I've traveled around a lot of circles, but it's a good thing to do. So anyway, I want to thank everybody who's watching. Oh my, of course, now more people are watching than ever before, so it's kind of hard to sign off. But I want to encourage people to go back to the beginning and maybe catch it. And the main message is let's just open our hearts. Let's open our minds. Let's be curious. Let's be childlike wonder. Wow, what the heck is happening? What's going on in my world? What's going on in my mind? What's going on in my heart? What's going on? And let's not be too quick to get religious about any particular belief system, but let's just stay curious and open-hearted and open-minded. And let's be as loving as we can possibly be. Let's treat ourselves and each other as well as we possibly can. And maybe you need to fill your well up before you have something to give. So listen to your favorite music. Play with your cat or your dog. Close your eyes and remember times that you were loved. Or run the affirmation, I am love. And I am loved. I am love. And I am loved. And remember the times you've been loved. And remember the times you do love. Because I do believe when this world ends for any of us, when our life ends, what we take with us is the love we've given and the love we've received. When my wife died, when my wife took her last breath, It was the greatest moment of my life. Now, I wept because I missed the fact that she was leaving and was gone. On one hand, was devastating. And I still, 8.5 years later, I miss her so much. God, I miss her. But the reason her last breath was such a beautiful moment was because I and the people in the room, it was in this room, about 11 of us, we could feel the incredible transition and liberation as she left her body. As she left her body, we felt palpably this incredible liberation. So believe me, when we leave our body temple, it's liberation. And as my wife shared with me after she died, yes, we had that experience. And as others have shared, I did a lot of television shows about near-death experiences. It's all about love. We're here in this world to learn to love ourselves. We're here in this world to learn to love each other. It's the love we give. It's the love we receive. That's the treasure that we take with us to the next world. It's the treasure of this life. And even if we've had an incredibly hard life, what happens when it's really hard? We learn how to love even more deeply. Pain is often the greatest teacher of love, the greatest reminder of love. So for any of you that are in pain right now, find the love within yourself or within a practice that cultivates love. And I'm going to go play with my dogs. She's my puppy. She's 10 months old, is running around, and she's got that, come on, Dad, time to play. So I'm going to go do that. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And let's all spread more love to ourselves and to each other. Namaste. Namaste go. Namaste away. Take care, everybody.